What's going on, everybody? You have a very, very tired non-TCG here. It's been a long day of work, about 17 and a half hours, so it's fun. But wanted to talk a little bit about Pokemon Center ETBs. And unless you've been living under a rock, the last couple weeks or so, we've seen Surging Sparks ETBs sell out. They were on the market for pre-sale for a long time, multiple weeks, potentially month and a half. Stellar Crown sold out. And then Twilight Masquerade recently sold out this past weekend, and we did a couple of videos on that. So the only Pokemon Center Scarlet and Violet based ETB left on the market, and Scarlet and Violet have a stamped Pokemon Center promo that the Sword and Shield don't have. The only one left is Shrouded Fable, and there's over 20,000 of those available. I like the set. There's just too much out there right now. But one of the things I've talked about in the past, and I just want to emphasize here, there's a rare occurrence in Pokemon where you have an item that's sought after, it displays very well, and the print run is limited. So if we look at all the booster boxes over time, there's 2 print runs, 3 print runs. You have approximately 2.5 years of potential print runs where we get reprints, etc. But with Pokemon Center ETBs, and what's fascinating is it's a new product, right? Obviously started with SV base a year and a half ago, but it's one and done. So it's a similar concept to the collector booster boxes in Magic the Gathering. Collector boxes, not booster boxes, whatever. So the current assumption is it's one and done. Sometimes there's some restocks, sometimes there's not. My guess is that the restocks that we show are coming from other countries that have excess inventory of English product. For example, Twilight Masquerade sold out, and then we got another 10,000 or so in the market, and it took 2 days for that to sell out. But I would imagine that those were just shipped UK, Canada, Australia, wherever, to be sold in the US. So you take a game where everything is aged over time like fine wine, and now you introduce a rather new nuanced product that's limited in nature. And what does that look like? And we've seen what happened with Sword and Shield near the end of the era, if you will. As a lot of the products were out of print, the company transitioned to Scarlet and Violet. And, as the boxes went out of print, everything went batshit crazy. It really did. It really did. And people jumped on the bandwagon. And, just look at Sword and Shield base. It's a shit set, right? But the booster boxes are selling for $300 because people want them and they're difficult to get. In this scenario, take that instance. Now you put a product that everybody wants that has a super rare promo, and most of these promos are between $50 and $100 right now, and you make it extremely, extremely limited compared to all the other products. And that's effectively what you have in Pokemon Center ETBs. And the reason why, I don't want to say there's confusion, but there isn't a clear path to buy this at all costs up until recently. Obviously, with Prismatic Evolution, the thing was listed for like 10 hours and it blew out. Is because enough time hasn't passed where the general population realized that, hey, this is the best shit to own. And quite honestly, I think this is multiple times more superior than booster boxes. It's going to perform phenomenal. Now, look, Pokemon can come out and say, hey, we're going to reprint these for the next 2.5 years, and all of a sudden they're not as special, even though, the packaging's cool. But I can't imagine that's going to be the case. Let's walk through a little bit of data. So the first time I put this together was October 18th. So it's been 52 days. So I'm going to walk through all these, and we're going to look at the price change, sort of the reasons why it's changed, and then the quantity available. And this is just strictly for TCG Player. A good amount of these do transact on eBay, are listed. But quite honestly, right now, almost everything listed on eBay are Surging Sparks. Those things blew out. A ton of them came onto the market at the same time. So they're readily available. But what's interesting is the quantity is drying up very, very fast. And we'll talk through that when we get to it. So let's start with the price changes. So column B, we have the price as of October 18th. And column C, we have the price as of today. And this is just the lowest listing on TCG Player. So you have the SV base, the Cridon, Maridon. It's $85 in October. It's $100 for the Maridon in October. Now you're at 105 and 164. Now, granted, with the 164, there are very few listed. But just look at the return over 52 days. 23.5% and 64%. And again, I put a caveat on the 64%. Is anybody going to buy it at 64% when that price memory is in the 80 to 100 range? I don't know. Remains to be seen. But I'll tell you that there's almost zero of these on eBay because I just did a mini buyout of what I could going into this video. Because quite honestly, I think they're badass products. I really do, and I think they're underappreciated. And that's how we get an edge in the market when we see something that's underappreciated, not quite understood, and eventually the general population will figure it out. Paldea evolved. These have gone nuts. I mean, they were $135 in the middle of October. They're north of 200, 220 now. So 63.3% return. Obviously, we've seen the reprint of the booster boxes just completely get sucked up. Those boxes are back up to 145 now. That escalated quickly. Obsidian Flames, this is an interesting one because this is really a crap set, but the Charizard promo in here is highly sought after. So these are $135 back in October, and they're $220 today. And there's only a handful of them for sale on TCG Player, which is obscene. 151 Pokémon Center ETBs, 233. They're at 280 now. They've gotten even crazier now. It's only up 20% over that period of time, but from a gross dollar perspective, you're running into the law of large numbers here. Paradox Rift. These two are super interesting because there's still a lot on the market. And there are a lot of cases, sealed cases for sale in the 320 range. So I've been picking a bunch of these up. The same with Paldean Fates. But these were $60 to $65 back in October now. Roaring Moon's 91, Iron Valiant's at 79, but they're all pushing upwards. Paldean Fates went from 83 to 120. Quite honestly, that 120 number, there are a good amount of these on the market, but that 120 number should be closer to 150 with the Bubble Mew and shit like that going crazy. It's just... It should be there. So we'll see. Temporal, another set that's gone absolutely nuts. 140, 145 on the booster boxes. There's a lot of product out there, just not in the U.S., not in North America. So I would imagine we're going to get some Pokemon Center product there dumped on the market at some point. And I'm just sitting with some cash on hand waiting just to eat it up. So Walking Wake and Iron Leaf, 75, 80. Now they're both right around 90, 92. Not the best promos in the world, but a super underappreciated set, in my opinion. And again, there's opportunity there. So here's where it gets a little interesting. So Twilight Masquerade was at $80, 80, 60, 80. It's at 88 now. So only up 9.8%. But part of the reason is we just had this massive restock that blew out of Pokemon Center. Now, I don't believe most, if any of them, have been delivered. So there's probably more coming to market. But that's really holding that product down. And quite honestly, the booster boxes, I think, are down to 4,600, 4,700. There's about 100 of them a day selling at Pokemon Center. And look, whatever you guys do not underestimate the number of people who shop on that frickin' site. It is absolutely batshit crazy and insane. And anything that gets hot is going to get sucked up so fast. This product's only up slightly. I would imagine next time we do this is going to be up probably 120, 125 as some of the product works through the market. And we'll see when we look at the quantities. Shroud of Fable. This one, there's just so much of this on the market. Not because it's viewed as a crappy product. It's not. The Pecharunt's a pretty cool promo here. But this is actually down 3%, 76 down to 73.60. 73.60 net of fees is less than the $59.99 plus tax that you have to pay for them. So I'm not sure what's going on here other than it's a little slow. It's going to be super interesting at some point, but I need to see the total quantity for sale tick under 20K. So there's at least some hope or it's just going to look like Battle Styles 2.0. Stellar Crown. This one was fascinating because this one sold out, I think, a lot faster than what anybody had thought or assumed. And it was kind of out of the blue, trading at $100 each right now. And this set has a little bit of juice behind it. Surging Sparks, it was still in pre-order mode on 10/18, so I didn't have the price marked, but it's at $124.52 now. This has been, I believe these started listed at 100. Now they pushed up 25% since then. And the quantity in the market has really come down. So I think a lot of these are starting to get eaten up and ripped, and the Magneton promo is going for $50. So it's a nice place to be. So it's interesting that across the board, outside of Twilight, which just had a massive restock and blew out, and Shrouded, which is kind of a dead set, every single one of these has performed phenomenally well. And part of it is a lot of the product is disappearing. So let's look at quantities. So this is fascinating. Column I is really the reduction in supply available in Pokemon Center, period over period. So, Koraidon has 17 left, down 64%. Miraidon 7 for sale. So 74% down. Paldea Evolved has 14. Obsidian Flames has 3 available. It's like $265, $350, and $450. There's nothing. Scarlet and Violet, 36. A ton of these got printed, but a ton of them got eaten up. Paradox Rift, the Roaring Moon's down from 77 to 51. Iron Valiant, 68 to 59. I think there's a ton of opportunity in these still. They haven't gone absolutely crazy. So I've been buying these by the case if possible, but a lot of loose ones. I've been able to pick up between 70 and 75 plus tax on eBay. Temporal Walking Wake is actually up a little bit, 33 to 38. But I think that's part of the fact that now that it's trading at 92, you're not at par on the sale. And if you want to free up some cash, it's movable. Iron Leaves from 34 down to 26. Here's where it gets interesting. So Twilight from 42 up to 104. So this is clearly the impact of this most recent dump on the market. Shrouded, 55 up to 70. Again, not much to see here until there is. But I would imagine it's going to be a couple months till it gets interesting. Stellar Crown, 42 down to 37. And then Surging Sparks. This one's a little misleading because there's 184 on the market now. But for the longest time, this was sitting at 230, 240. And it was just like that day after day after day. And, the set came out, what are we, a month now on the set? So as the quantity gets down to 150, 125, 100, these boxes are going to spike to $200 per. And the Magneton's probably going to spike up to $100, consistent with some of the early Pokémon Center ETBs with some had really cool promos, some just had rare promos, but generally speaking, they're all sitting around $100. Miraidon, Paldea Evolved, obviously the Charizard in Obsidian. Paldea Evolved, I think it was Pikachu. 151 with the Snorlax. Roaring Moon, Iron Valiant, somewhere around 50. Paldean Fates with the Mimikyu. That thing's come to life recently, 30, 40. Walking Wake, Iron Leaves. Again, $30, $40 cards. Twilight, that's probably the worst one. The Teal Mask Ogerpon. Shroud of Fables might be the best one here, quite honestly, but it's just dead money. And Stellar's cool. So Stellar had the Knocked Out, which is sitting at $50 and surging with the Magneton. So we are running out of time to acquire product here, and this is going to dry up and it's going to go parabolic, and nobody's talking about it, at least to the extent that we're talking about it here. And we're projecting something that hasn't happened before, and a lot of folks don't quite understand the concept of that. But when you have continued interest and you have products like this that are going up, which is just going to create more interest because people want shit that's going crazy, and they want items that are hard to get. I think every single one of these, except probably Shrouded, by the end of 2025 is going to be trading $300-$400 plus. I mean, I'd be shocked if the 151, maybe even Obsidian, isn't pushing $500 per, just because of the demand and the fact that there's a limited quantity out there. So anyway, hope this was valuable. Kind of pulling all the data into one place and walking through my thoughts on Pokemon Center ETBs. I've been wanting to do this for a while. But look, guys, join the Discord. We have conversations all the time about things like this, and we have some deals coming. So, all right, guys, have a good night. Bye.